Hi and welcome back. This is Cooking with Chris. Today we're going to make my version of Southern meatloaf where I use barbecue sauce instead of ketchup. But I start with a half pound of pork, of ground pork, a pound and a half of ground pork, 1 pound of beef, and the beef I have here is grass-fed, really good beef. 2 eggs, and we'll go off with brown sugar, which I use a teaspoon, paprika a teaspoon, ground pepper a teaspoon, onion powder is a tablespoon, garlic powder is a tablespoon, iodized salt is a teaspoon, and I use a whole cup of breadcrumbs. And for the fresh veggies, I got a medium yellow onion, I got 1 whole stalk of green onion, and 2 cloves of garlic. 2 cloves of garlic. One's about that size, where I mash them with a knife and cut them up. So I have my seasonings preset. I'm gonna dump them in. And then I'll put my onion and my garlic in. And I usually mix this with, I use my hands to mix the meat together. I think using your hands makes it to where it mixes the best, but you can use a mixing spatula or something if you want. Just gotta make sure your hands are clean though. You mix it real well to where the egg and everything's together. And can you put the crumbs in for me? I mix most of the other stuff together, then I have to put the crumbs in after. Starting to look good. And the crumbs I use this time is pre-mixed Italian breadcrumbs. You can use fresh bread, you just have to dry it in like the oven before you crush it. And then it looks like this is pretty much ready. Once everything starts to mold together, you can get ready to put it in your dish. All right. Put the big old meatball. Ooh, she's a big one too. The barbecue sauce will be later after the meat mainly cooks, or mostly cooks, I mean. And that's pretty much meatloaf, just breadcrumbs and all the good stuff mixed together. All right, the meatloaf is initially done. I cooked it for, I always do a check the first time, 20 minutes when it's something this thick, and then I check it again like 10 minutes after. But it's ready to be glazed. I just pulled it out of the oven. It smells great. I'm gonna put one of my favorite sweet sauces on it for my Southern meatloaf, which is Sweet Baby Ray's Honey Barbecue. It's good stuff. Not sponsored, I wish I would. For this much, that's probably about 1/4 cup of barbecue sauce. Take my handy dandy brush and I brush it on good. Ooh yeah. Some of that Sweet Babies. I love this sauce with doing my ribs too. Towards the end of it, after I do when I do ribs on the grill. I do this after I do the dry rub for 2 hours. Man, it's good stuff. She looks get a little bit more of that brown sauce. Ooh, yeah. Make it coated in the middle, and then I'm gonna slap some of this on there, and I'll be slapping her back in the oven, say for about 15 minutes, and then she'll be ready to eat. The meatloaf, she looks great. We cooked it, just for a recap, we cooked it for 30 minutes. And then I checked it to make sure if it needed to be cooked longer. It didn't need to be cooked longer other than putting the glaze on for 15 minutes. 375. And we cook it at 375 with both times. And if you make it thicker, you have to cook it a little bit longer sometimes. You just go by 10-minute intervals. But I'm gonna cut it. On my beef too, I use a less fat content beef, and the pork I have more fat. If you use beef that's like 70%, it will make a lot of grease. When you use less greasy beef, it's real moist. With the pork, you use the pork that has more fat, and the beef that has less, because if you do that, you won't have so much grease. But the meatloaf is cooked through, looks really nice. It's the gray, and then it has the golden amber color from the barbecue sauce, which makes it, I think, above all, better than ketchup and stuff. It's so good. Thank you. Subscribe, like, leave a comment, and share.